The day I stopped being silent. Mother, you need to stop talking. The grown-ups are making decisions here. Those words, those exact words from my own flesh and blood, from the boy I raised, whose scraped knees I bandaged, whose nightmares I chased away. And now, at 73 years old, I'm being told to hush in my own living room, in the house where I've lived for 42 years. But before I tell you what happened next, I want you to stay with me. Subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. It warms this old heart to know where my words travel. Now, where was I? Oh yes, the moment everything changed. It's a Tuesday morning, unseasonably warm for October. The kind of day that tricks you into thinking summer might come back for one more curtain call. I've prepared Earl Grey tea, the good kind, loose leaf, steeped for exactly 4 minutes, and arranged some butter cookies on my grandmother's china plate. You know, the one with the tiny blue flowers that I promised myself I'd only use for special occasions. Though nowadays, I've learned that any day you wake up breathing is special enough. My son David arrived first, 38 years old, wearing that expensive cologne that always makes my nose itch. He's got his briefcase. Who brings a briefcase to their mother's house? And that look on his face, the one that says he's already decided how this conversation will go. Then comes Rebecca, my daughter-in-law. Sweet Rebecca, with her nervous smile and her constant phone checking. She's wearing those shoes that click-clack on my hardwood floors, the ones that make her 4 inches taller, but I suspect 4 times more uncomfortable. She won't look me in the eye. That's the first sign something's wrong. Sit, sit, I say, gesturing to the living room. I've made tea. David doesn't sit. He paces, back and forth, like a caged animal at the zoo. I remember when he was 5 and couldn't sit still during church. Some things never change. Mother, he starts, and I already don't like his tone. We need to discuss your situation, my situation, as if I'm a problem to be solved, a puzzle with missing pieces. I have something I want to talk about too, I begin, setting down my teacup. My hands are steadier than I expected. I've been thinking about selling the house. It's too much for me now. All these stairs, the maintenance, Mother, you need to stop talking. The grown-ups are making decisions here. The room goes silent. Even the old grandfather clock in the corner seems to hold its breath. Rebecca's face turns 3 shades of red, and she suddenly becomes fascinated with a loose thread on her sleeve. I stare at my son, really stare at him, and I see a stranger wearing my son's face. Excuse me? My voice is quiet, but there's steel in it. The kind of steel that got me through raising 2 children alone after his father died, through night shifts at the hospital, through every single hard moment life threw at me. What I mean is, David has the decency to look slightly uncomfortable. This is a complex financial decision, and Rebecca and I have been discussing what's best for everyone involved. Everyone. Funny how that word suddenly doesn't include me. This is my house, I say, each word deliberate. My name is on the deed. I'm the one who decides what happens to it. David runs his hand through his hair, a gesture he's done since he was 12, and trying to explain why the neighbor's window got broken during a baseball game. Mom, you're not thinking clearly. At your age, at my age, I stand up now, all 5 feet 3 inches of me. At my age, I've lived through things you couldn't imagine. I've made decisions that kept food on our table and clothes on your back. Don't you dare tell me I'm not thinking clearly. Rebecca finally speaks, her voice small and pleading. We just want to make sure you're taken care of, Mom. The house is so big, and if something happened, what you mean is, you want to make sure the house is protected for when I'm gone. The truth hangs in the air like morning fog. Nobody denies it. David's jaw tightens. That's not fair. We're thinking about practical matters. This house is part of the family legacy. It should stay in the family. Legacy. Another pretty word for control. I look around my living room. the worn spot on the carpet where David used to play with his toy cars. The bookshelf I assembled myself after his father died because I couldn't afford to hire anyone. The window seat where I spent countless afternoons, reading stories to my children, and later to my grandchildren. Every corner holds a memory, and every memory is mine. I need some air, I say quietly. Excuse me. I walk out to the back garden, my sanctuary, leaving behind the sound of David's frustrated sigh and Rebecca's whispered objections. The autumn. Roses are still blooming, defiant against the changing season. I've always admired that about roses. They don't give up just because the calendar says it's time. My hands are shaking now, but not from weakness. From anger, from hurt, from something I haven't felt in years, the determination to reclaim what's mine. I reach into my cardigan pocket and pull out my phone. The screen is cracked from when I dropped it last month, but it works just fine. I scroll through my contacts until I find the name I'm looking for. Margaret Chen, real estate agent. Margaret and I go way back. We met at a grief support group 15 years ago, both widows trying to figure out how to rebuild our lives. She became more than a friend. She became my partner in crime for every adventure I talked myself out of, then talked myself back into. If anyone could help me navigate this mess, it was Margaret. The phone rings twice before her familiar voice answers. "Eleanor, is that you?" "Maggie," I say, and my voice cracks just a little. "I need your help." I tell her everything. The meeting, David's words, the way I've been feeling trapped in my own life, like a bird in a cage with the door wide open but too afraid to fly. Margaret listens without interrupting, making those little sounds that let me know she's truly hearing me. When I finish, there's a pause. Then Margaret says, "I'll be there tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. We'll figure this out together, Eleanor. It's time you did something for yourself." After we hang up, I stand in the garden for a long moment. The sun is warm on my face, and I can hear the muffled voices of David and Rebecca arguing inside. About me, probably. About what to do with the stubborn old woman who won't play along. But something has shifted inside me. A door has opened, and I can see light streaming through. 10 minutes later, I know because I checked my watch twice, David's phone rings inside the house. The arguing stops abruptly. I hear his voice, sharp and surprised. "What? When?" Then silence. The kind of silence that comes right before thunder, and then Rebecca's voice, high and desperate, floating through the open kitchen window. "Please, Mother Eleanor, you can't do this to us. We're family." I can't help it. I smile. Not a mean smile, but the smile of someone who's just realized they've been holding all the cards all along and forgot to look at their hand. I walk back inside slowly, taking my time. David is standing in the middle of the living room, his phone clutched in his white-knuckled grip. Rebecca's eyes are wide, darting between her husband and me like she's watching a tennis match. "You called a real estate agent," David says. "It's not a question. I made an appointment with an old friend," I correct him. "Tomorrow morning, as a matter of fact." "Mom, you can't be serious about this." His voice has changed now. The authority is gone, replaced by something that sounds suspiciously like panic. "Why can't I be serious?" I settle back into my chair and pick up my now cold tea. "You were just telling me how I'm not capable of making my own decisions. Well, I've made one. I'm exploring my options." Rebecca sits down heavily on the couch. "But where will you go? What will you do?" "I have no idea," I say, and it feels glorious to admit it. "Maybe a condo by the river. Maybe one of those retirement communities with the shuffleboard and the Friday fish fries. Maybe I'll sell everything and move to Portugal. I hear it's lovely there." "Portugal? David looks like I've suggested moving to Mars. Why not?" "I have a passport. I'm in reasonably good health. I've spent 73 years putting everyone else first. Maybe it's time I got a little adventurous." The look on their faces is priceless. It's like they're seeing me for the first time. Not as Mom or Mother Eleanor, but as Eleanor Rose Mitchell. A whole person with desires and dreams that have nothing to do with being anyone's safety net. David sinks into the armchair, running his hands over his face. We just thought, if anything ever happened to us, financially or otherwise, we'd have somewhere to go. This house has always been our backup plan. There it is. The truth finally laid bare on my grandmother's coffee table, right next to the butter cookies nobody's touched. I understand wanting security, I say gently. I've spent my entire life trying to provide that for you. But I can't live in a house this big, maintaining a property this expensive, just to be your plan B. Rebecca's eyes fill with tears. We didn't mean it like that, didn't you? I lean forward. Tell me, when was the last time either of you asked me what I wanted? Not what I could do for you, not what would be most convenient for the family, but what I actually wanted for myself? Silence. The grandfather clock ticks loudly in the corner, counting the seconds of their inability to answer. That's what I thought, I say softly. David finally speaks, his voice rough. What do you want, Mom? It's the first time he's asked me that question in years, maybe ever. I want to wake up in the morning without worrying about a roof that needs replacing or a furnace that might break down in the middle of winter. I want to travel while my knees still work. I want to take that pottery class at the community center without feeling guilty about spending money on myself. I want to feel like I'm living, not just existing, until it's convenient for someone else. The words pour out of me like water from a broken dam. Years of swallowing my desires, my needs, my voice, all of it comes flooding to the surface. I continue, my voice stronger now, to be seen as more than just Mom. I'm Eleanor. I'm a person who still has dreams and plans and things I want to experience before my time runs out. And I'm tired of apologizing for that. Rebecca wipes her eyes. We never wanted you to feel that way. But I do feel that way. Because that's exactly how you've treated me. Like a resource to be managed, not a person to be respected. David stands up and walks to the window, staring out at the garden. His shoulders are tense, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. When he turns back, his eyes are red. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm really sorry. I got so caught up in our problems, in our stress, that I forgot. I forgot you're dealing with your own life, too. It's not a perfect apology. It doesn't erase the hurt or the years of being taken for granted. But it's a start. We spend the next hour really talking. Not the surface-level conversations we usually have. How's work? How are the kids? Did you see the game? But real, honest dialogue. I tell them about the loneliness of living in a house full of memories with no one to share them with. I tell them about my friend Patricia, who moved to a retirement community and says she's never been happier. Surrounded by people who actually want to do things, go places, live instead of just wait. David tells me about the financial pressure he's under, how the business isn't doing as well as he pretends. Rebecca admits she's been worried about their future, about how they'd manage if things fell apart. And slowly, painfully, we begin to understand each other not as mother and son, not as in-laws, but as human beings all trying to navigate an uncertain world. I don't want to cut you out of my life, I tell them. I want to be part of your lives, but I also need to be part of my own life. Rebecca nods. We get that now. We really do. And if you sell the house? David asks quietly. What then? Then I find a place that fits the life I want to live now, not the life I lived 30 years ago. And maybe if you're willing, you can help me find it. Not make the decision for me, but with me. David's face softens. I'd like that, Mom. I really would. As evening settles over the house, we're still talking, making plans, dreaming together instead of separately. Rebecca orders Chinese food, my favorite, the kind with extra fortune cookies, and we eat dinner at the kitchen table like we haven't done in years. Before they leave, David hugs me. A real hug, the kind he used to give me when he was small and the world felt too big and scary. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry I forgot to show it. I love you too, I whisper. Now go home. I've got a big day tomorrow. After they leave, I walk through the quiet house, turning off lights, checking locks. I pause in each room, saying a silent goodbye to the memories while also saying hello to the future. In my bedroom, I catch sight of myself in the mirror. I look the same, gray hair, lines around my eyes, the face of a 73-year-old woman. But something is different. There's a light in my eyes that hasn't been there in years. A spark of excitement, of possibility. I think about all the women my age who feel invisible, who've spent their lives being everything to everyone else and nothing to themselves. I think about the conversations we don't have, the words we swallow, the dreams we tuck away because we're too busy being someone's mother, someone's wife, someone's caretaker, and I think about how one moment of courage, one refusal to stay silent, can change everything. Tomorrow, Margaret will come over. We'll talk about listings and square footage and neighborhoods. But more than that, we'll talk about the life I want to build in whatever time I have left. Because that's the thing nobody tells you about getting older. Yes, there's less time ahead than behind, but that doesn't mean the time ahead is less valuable. If anything, it's more precious. I climb into bed, pulling up the quilt my mother made 50 years ago, and I feel something I haven't felt in a very long time. Excitement about tomorrow. Not anxiety, not dread, just pure, simple excitement. Before I turn off the light, I grab my phone and open it to my notes app. I start typing. Things I want to do. Take that pottery class, visit Portugal, or maybe Italy. Learn to play the ukulele. Join a book club, volunteer at the animal shelter, take dancing lessons, say yes to adventures, say no to guilt. Remember that my life is mine to live. Never, ever forget my own voice again. I stare at the list, adding one more item at the bottom, 11. Be brave enough to choose myself. As I drift off to sleep, I think about that moment in the living room when David told me to stop talking, when he treated me like a child instead of the woman who raised him. And I realize now that it was a gift in its own terrible way, because it woke me up. It reminded me that I still have a voice, still have choices, still have time. You know, ladies, they say that life begins at 40, but I'm here to tell you that life can begin at any age, as long as you're brave enough to claim it. It doesn't matter if you're 40, 60, or 73. It's never too late to stand up and say, this is my life, and I get to decide how I live it. So let me ask you, when was the last time you chose yourself? When did you last say no without guilt, or yes without obligation? When did you last listen to that small voice inside that knows what you need, what you want, what you deserve? Because here's what I've learned, saying no to someone else's expectations isn't selfish. It's necessary. It's survival. It's the difference between living your life and living someone else's version of it. Tomorrow, Margaret will help me start a new chapter. But tonight, lying here in the dark, I realized that the new chapter started the moment I walked out to that garden and decided I was done being quiet. The moment I chose to call my own friend, make my own plans, reclaim my own future. And if a 73-year-old woman can do it, so can you. So here's my challenge to you. Find your garden. Find your Margaret. Find your moment. And when someone tries to silence you, when they try to make you small, when they forget that you're a whole person with dreams and desires and a voice that matters, speak up. Stand up. Walk out to your garden and make that call, because your life is yours, not theirs, yours. And trust me, the view looks much better from this side of courage. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a full day tomorrow. There's a house to sell, a life to plan, and a whole world out there waiting for this old lady to stop playing it safe. Subscribe if this story touched your heart. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and whether you've ever had to remind your family that you're more than just their backup plan. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, who needs to know that it's never too late to find your voice. Because sometimes the most radical thing you can do is choose yourself. And ladies, that's exactly what I intend to keep doing every single day I have left. Sweet dreams, and remember, you're never too old to start living on your own terms.